Hey, Paul.
Hey, guys.
What's happening?
Yeah.
Living the dream.
Everything as I yoba.
I don't know what you and I did wrong to be here. Well, we were here very early this morning, and it's Valentine's Day, so I'm sure you've got better things to be doing than looking across at my mug.
Look, yeah, it's one of those things, man. It's how we roll, though.
You're supposed to say, no, this is no other place I'd prefer to be.
I don't think I'm allowed to say what I'm supposed to say on the podcast.
Yeah. We will get demonetized.
Yeah. Otherwise?
No, all good, man.
Okay.
It's not often that something new and something cool comes out in aviation. Aviation's got this sort of, a little bit more of the same vibe. I think it's one of the reasons why we took to the sort of eVTOL thing, because it's new.
Yeah.
Not so much because it's cool. I'm not so sure how cool it is. But one thing that is cool is this Boom Supersonic machine. Because I don't know if you read that article, the boomless cruise, how Boom's Supersonic XB1 breaks the sound barrier quietly.
I hadn't seen that yet.
Hadn't seen it. It's flipping interesting. So this was in Aerotime. It says, hot on the heels of its milestone supersonic flight with its demonstrator XB1, Boom Supersonic has another surprise up its sleeve. During the demo flight on the 28th of Jan, the XB1 broke the sound barrier 3 times, but not one of those occasions caused an audible sonic boom. This confirms what we've long believed, said their CEO. Supersonic travel can be affordable, sustainable, and friendly to those on board and on the ground. So it's got a boomless cruise function. So according to the company, boomless cruise is based on a phenomenon known as Mach cutoff. In essence, when an aircraft flies past the speed of sound at a high altitude, the sound of the sonic boom does not reach the ground. So they're breaking the sound barrier much higher up. Rather than refracting downwards and disrupting people on the ground, Boom's XB1 flew higher before transitioning to Mach 1. The Boom Supersonic placed microphones along the aircraft's flight path, which confirmed that on every transition, no sonic boom reached the ground. So,
do they say at what altitude that occurs at? Just as a matter of interest.
They do here. This they go to about Mach 0.94 and then above 30,000 feet.
Sure.
They go past the sound barrier. The reason they can do it is because of the engine tech. So using its proprietary engine technology known as Symphony, the Overture will have more than enough power to break the sound barrier at that higher altitude. So I thought that's like a new thing and cool. And let me tell you, you being in your investment phase, if you want to go have a look at a cool website and actually go and see what these guys are doing, this is a lot less Mickey Mouse than I originally thought. And they got a pretty cool website. I'll just see if I can bring it up here.
Actually, while you talk about that, just quickly, I was looking at this other day and I thought, I wonder if these guys are public and if it's an option to get in on them, but they're not public yet.
Aren't they?
Not yet. But when they do go public, it might be worth gripping a share or two.
Yeah, quite a lot of info there. Info on the engines I found pretty interesting. There's quite a lot of gen there. So worth a look to see how this whole thing works. It's got video on you. I hope it doesn't get taken down. But yeah, hollow core fan blades, medium bypass ratio, 25. Yeah, it's interesting. And it's been a long time since we've been in that sort of, I was living in the UK in 2001 and the Concorde was bombing overhead. And I mean, it had been doing it for ages, and every time it came overhead, everyone looked up and saw that beast of an aircraft, and it just I'm sure a lot of people became pilots there just because they saw that,
Yeah, it just had such a presence.
Major presence.
That and like the 747 still do, it's just
Yeah.
one of those airplanes that.
But in a different sort of way.
Yes. Yeah.
The Concorde was just, it's just something about that. I mean, we went to, did you come with me to?
We went to that
yes,
museum in.
Le Bourget.
That's right. Yeah. We actually got to climb inside that Concorde. I was hell of a surprised at how small that thing is actually. Inside.
Yeah, very. Yeah, and comparing this to now this Boom Supersonic, this thing, I mean, United are behind it. It's, I'll be honest, we reported on this, I think, maybe 2 years ago on the pod. And I thought, this is one of these things.
This is going to be wishy-washy.
Yeah, this ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it is happening. They've built that sort of scale demonstrator model. They seem to have enough backing to get this thing going. And, I think there was, I tried to find that episode where we spoke about it, but obviously the talk was about the boom. I mean, you're still restricted by flying over the sea.
Yeah.
If they can sort that issue out, which they have, they're going to need to get some regulations passed that allow them to actually be above supersonic above land, because at the moment you can't. But they're hoping that they can prove that this tech actually works, and then they'll get approval to fly over land. Could this be like a little bit of a game changer? I know I'm being optimistic in my thinking here, but
I don't think they'll battle there, because I mean Trump is signing executive orders like he's giving out Big Macs at the moment. So
yeah,
just swing it past his desk and
true
it'll
story.
get sorted.
Yeah. Speaking about executive orders, there was a decision to rename the safety update system from Notice to Airmen to Notice to Air Missions. All right, and that has now officially been changed back to Notice to Airmen.
Yeah.
Some people are up in arms about it because the one comment that I said is or saw was, but people must understand that it was changed to air missions because of the drone activity, and this is more encompassing of all the other aviation elements and eVTOLs and stuff like that. I don't think it was. I think it was put in there because they were trying to look for, the right word to, heaven forbid, the word men is in something.
Yeah.
And I'm glad the pendulum is swinging the other direction. So I'm very pro Notice to Airmen being back. And if you don't like it, then there are other podcasts that you can go listen to, because we are on the Notice to Airmen side.
100%. No, when I read that, I was also pretty damn stoked, because it's removing that little bit of wokeness.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly
bullshit.
what it is. A little bit of wokeness bullshit that we can do without, and it's slowly but surely being eradicated. And you know what? Had it not gone so far, I wouldn't really care about this. But because so much other stuff was done, this other nonsense, then when something like this comes along, you kind of say, yeah, okay, well, good.
Yeah.
Good. It's about flipping time. So I'm glad the pendulum has swung a bit there, and some sense is being led there from the States.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
That's good to see. That's good to see. You're not thinking of going to Finnair, are you?
No.
So not in the radar.
I don't think so.
Finnair warned that 90 pilots could lose their jobs if the union does not agree to new work terms. Ongoing strikes have already caused over 800 flight cancellations, leaving many passengers stranded. The airline's agreement with Qantas for leasing aircraft is at risk due to these disruptions. Finnair wants standby duties included in pilot contracts, but the union insists they should be voluntary. If the lease ends, the pilots must face furlough or termination due to limited aircraft options. I would have thought that standby is just sort of part of the gig that you're signing up for, but obviously not in Scanda Hooligan Town there.
So that must be the union fighting for it.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to win that one.
Nah, nothing. I think the operator normally wins that.
I think they're
fight
going to
every
win
time.
that one every time. Yeah. Standbys are voluntary. Do you want to be on standby this Saturday? I know it's your kid's birthday, but don't you want to be on standby? Yeah, sure. I'll volunteer for that one. My ass. That is what I hated the most about flying. Those flipping standby days.
Oh, standby is cuck. Eh?
They are cuck. Eh?
It
And I'm
is.
sure they still cuck for everyone. In fact,
it is.
I think
I heard someone talking about it the other
John
day as well.
O'Collins posted something the other day. He said 3 standbys in a row didn't get called out once type of vibe, and it was like a thing.
Yeah.
I might be wrong. I think it was Jono.
Yeah.
I might be wrong.
I think I heard crew talking about it in the passage the other day as well. They were talking about the areas have gone in for maintenance, so they've got like a hell of a reduced schedule, and most of their rosters now standby. And yeah, it's just baiting them, because you can do nothing on standby.
No, but
Fucking
no, it's the worst. And then you think you've made it through. Yeah, it's past that danger zone. All the flights should be pretty much en route now. I'm gonna duck out.
Yeah.
Dring, dring.
No, but you're under house arrest the whole day.
No,
and the worst is like your mates will say, "Hey, listen, come for a bra."
Yeah.
Something, and then you rock up there with your
Yeah.
0-0s, and you're waiting to crack one of the real McCoys. It's like 5 to 5. You're about to open up a proper one, and then you get that call.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Not cool. Not cool. Another story. Good news on Boeing. Yeah, Boeing outperforms Airbus with 45 deliveries in January. Is that tide shifting a bit? So 45 new Airbus, surpassing Airbus, which only delivered 25. This marked Boeing's best month since late 2023, and its first lead over Airbus since March in 2023. So a good little sign there for Boeing. It's not often we're reporting on little Boeing victories there, but another good one there.
I picked up on something here as well. Was it France that was imposing restrictions on domestic flights in an effort to try and reduce emissions?
Yes, you had to go on a train if it was less than a certain amount of time.
They were going at that quite heavy. See what they've done now in an effort to curb that as well is they apparently from the 1st of March this year, they're now going to heavily tax, hike their passenger air taxes, applying to airlines as well as to commercial business aviation flights.
But does that mean they're going to keep the flights, but just push the taxes up?
Yeah, which is obviously going to be a bit of a deterrent. But it's not small numbers. Check here. New rates mean business aviation operators must pay anywhere from 420 to 2,100 euros per passenger, depending on where you're flying, because it's distance-based. And then for airlines, if you have a business class ticket, north of an extra 22 odd euros per passenger. So apparently the French government estimates that this is going to bring in an extra 800 to 850 million euros in additional revenue to the thing. So it's
not small change. Well, that's good.
I wonder what that's
good for aviation.
Yeah, but it's going to really increase the costs of tickets and stuff.
The tickets are so pricey as they are, and if you've got to get somewhere, then at least there's a flight to go on. But I don't know, Paul. Do you think? I mean, okay, here's another story. Not sort of maybe in the same bracket, yeah. But Airbus has announced a delay in the development of its zero-E hydrogen-powered aircraft program. The timeline for the program has been pushed back by 5 to 10 years. Meaning this is not priority right now. The goal for that was 2035. Is there, obviously with what's going on in America, do you not think that there's a little bit of the climate story maybe not going to be in the headlines for the next 4 years at least?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, maybe those high taxes, maybe it starts off, taxes are going to be high, but maybe it's a positive thing that the flights are going to happen, and then they can maybe reduce those taxes and normalize the nonsense around the climate change. We're not saying it's not a thing, but it's definitely not the thing that the the leaders with half a brain cell are overly concerned about at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
there's other
Yeah.
much bigger issues at hand.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There was another incapacitation the other day.
Another one.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it here for you.
Probably called out in standby.
There you go. Yeah. EasyJet flight to Manchester had to divert to Athens because the captain became incapacitated. It's always the captain. The first officer took control and landed the plane safely at Athens. The incident happened on the 8th of Feb, about 2 hours into the flight. Emergency teams were ready to assist. Passengers were delayed overnight, but were provided accommodation, blah, blah, blah. Do you think he made an announcement? But
This pilot in-cap thing seems to be quite heavy on the algorithm at the moment.
yeah, but it's always been the captain. It seems captains are falling fast there.
Yeah, overworked.
Overworked. Yeah. Probably was day 7, got called out on his standby day.
Yeah.
You were telling me a story about a Leo earlier.
Yeah, so the Motley crew are in the market for a new aeroplane. The Lear 35 had an unfortunate accident the other day. Looks like they had a problem with the left undercarriage. Went skidding off the runway and clubbed into a parked Gulfstream.
Yeah, it didn't look good.
No, shame the captain of the Lear didn't make it.
Oh, did he?
He was killed.
Did the
on
gear
impact.
collapse on landing? Or
It looks like it,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm still looking for more info on, what would have caused that, but there hasn't been much out. But pretty sad, man. I mean, there's video footage of it. You just see this Lear coming off the end of the runway, slamming into this parked Gulfstream. So the captain of the Lear didn't make it. The first officer apparently in critical condition. But it was the Motley Crew's lead singer, Neil Vance, his girlfriend and her friend that were passengers on board.
Yeah, shit.
And there was a pilot sitting in the Gulfstream apparently that
He
caused
must
a
have got a fright.
malicious crack, yeah.
Sure.
But man, there's a lot of weird pranks at the moment.
Oh, a lot of weird pranks. And there's a lot of weird behavior on aircraft all around the world. There's a few of these stories. I chose one here. A passenger on an Iberia flight from Paris to Madrid attacked a flight attendant and opened an emergency exit while the plane was taxiing. The man jumped 12 feet to the tarmac below as the engines were running. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. I don't know if you just see more of it, but there's definitely a lot of weird actions going on aircraft these days. You got to have your wits about you.
Yeah. Yes, that's what.
Not cool. Not cool. Can I give you a different type of vibe for my aviation motivation segment? Yeah.
Let's have it.
So I came across a mentor pilot. Was actually a post on LinkedIn the other day, and he was calling for a bit of action and support in getting a bit of a word out. And I thought that's weird, because his stuff is normally quite graphics that are unbelievable, but it's normally always based on things that have happened in the past, and he waits for the report to come out and then puts a nice video together about the actual accident report. This time, the official report hasn't come out yet, but he's actually gone and made a video. And his argument for doing so is based on the fact that when the 737 MAX accidents happened, it was, he feels, and I would totally agree, that those accidents probably would not have happened had the pilots fully understood that system, and Boeing had been a little bit more forthcoming in information about it. So it was like a much more in-your-face thing. It was a little bit sort of, people sort of knew about it, that MCAS system, but it was sort of behind closed doors type of vibe. And this, there were 2 incidents from 2023 that have a very similar vibe. So I'll go through it with you. Yeah, we can have a bit of a discussion with it and see what you think. But quite a quite an alarming thing in many ways. And the mentor pilot says, if he was ever faced with that MCAS situation again, where pilots just didn't have the information, he is going to use his platform to get the word out. So he's actually, thrown this video out. It's an outstanding video, and it's in the show notes. You can check it out there. And obviously, feel free to skip this little section and go watch his video, because this is more of a summary of what I saw there. But let me explain it to you, and then you let me know what you think here. So 2 separate incidents from 2023. The first one was on the 1st of March, a 737 MAX with 147 packs took off, normal takeoff, and they hit a vulture ingested into the number 2 engine. All right. They picked up quite serious vibration because of the obviously damage the fan blades there. The pilots went through fault isolation process. They did the severe damage memory items, followed by a mayday call to ATC. The right engine fire warning also sounded as they were dealing with the situation. But what started to happen was a lot of smoke started coming into the cabin. But this very fine sort of acrid smoke. And it was quite thick in the cabin. It was far less in the flight deck, but nonetheless, there was quite a lot of smoke in the flight deck as well. It started irritating the throats and the eyes, particularly of the passengers, because they had a much thicker presence of this sort of acrid smell. Anyway, the aircraft landed back at the departure aerodrome on runway 06, and the captain stopped the aircraft. He taxied just briefly off the runway, parked brake on, stopped the aircraft, and called for an evacuation because that cabin was full of smoke. So news reached at that point the FAA and the NTSB, but this was ultimately a bird strike. Bird strikes do happen. So not a huge amount of effort was put into asking why or how can we stop this again. Basically, it happened. I think in that incident as well, when they pulled the fire handle, a lot of that smoke actually went away in that first incident. However, there was another one. This was 9 months later, 20th of December 2023. A Southwest Flight 554 from New Orleans to Tampa. Nice day for flying, 133 packs, 6 crew, and they took off runway 11. They got a bird strike at 800 feet, this time on the number 1 engine. Same thing again, quite big damage, quite a big bird, one of those turkey vultures, 2 kilos of the thing. Caused a severe damage. The FO memory items went into the QRH, but as the guy got going through the QRH, severe smoke starts coming into the cockpit, but severe. Oxygen mask went on, and they within seconds couldn't even see each other. Okay, so the FO at that point couldn't see the QRH, he couldn't see the instruments. The only way the captain could fly was with his head-up display. So you had for non-aviators, like a piece of glass in front of your eyes, and much closer than the instruments, and obviously maybe being a bit higher, it was a bit easy for the captain to see. Now, bearing in mind, the official report is not out yet. This is from all the interim stuff that is out. Very, very bad situation, this, because they were battling with really battling to fly the aircraft. In fact, the captain called for emergency services. He called for everything you have. Give us everything you have, and the crew did an amazing job as expected. They got the aircraft back on the ground again. As that fire handle was pulled, boom, that smoke, a lot of it dissipated. But quite a serious situation, again, caused by a bird strike. So They actually then landed the aircraft. Now, in this case, the cabin wasn't too bad. It wasn't full of smoke like it was in that first incident. There was smoke, but not too bad. And because they pulled the fire handle, a lot of the smoke dissipated in the flight deck. The guys taxied in. They actually made it all the way to the parking bay and disembarked normally. Okay, so after that major sort of event, they actually managed to get off the aircraft normally. Pilots were okay, hopefully. But anyway, it goes in to speak about something that is on that aircraft that information about is not in the pilot's manuals. It's only in the maintenance manuals.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's this device called an LRD. It's basically a system that, I think, load reduction device. Basically, those big blades on the CFM LEAP 1B engines. So they got, I don't know if you've looked at these LEAP engines, they've got far fewer blades, but they're bigger. Obviously, they can push a bigger mass of air rearwards. That's why they're so efficient. The problem that they have is if you break a blade, the imbalance is quite severe. It's a much, much bigger vibration. So to counter that, they came up with this system, this LRD, which is quite an amazing thing, which actually breaks part of the engine intentionally so that the spinning part of the engine can find a new center. It can basically, instead of spinning directly straight, it's actually got a much bigger sort of circumference to spin around, lessening the vibration.
Yeah.
So that system worked as it should. However, that system has got something in it that is not so environmentally friendly for the people in the aircraft. Because what happens is, as that system breaks, it dumps all the engine oil into basically past the combustion chamber, past the compressor blades, and into the bleed air system. And the bleed air system feeds the air conditioning packs. And in that first incident, because they had this happened on the number 2 engine, the bleed air system was feeding mostly the cabin, which is why it filled up with
and
that
vice
smoke.
versa with the number 1 engine, which prioritizes air to the sort of flight deck if it's
Exactly.
anything like...
Exactly. So exactly that. So the number 1 engine in this case now goes, and all this oil gets, sucked out and into the air conditioning system, into the flight deck. Right. So the story making any sense yet. However, something serious to consider here, and why I actually labeled this on my thing here, aviation motivation, and I wrote there, protect our pilots, okay? Because this I find absolutely quite insane. There was a toxicology report, an analysis that they did, which basically showed that after 39 seconds of this smoke being in the vicinity of a human being, 39 seconds, concentrations of noxious fumes, acrolein and formaldehyde, in the confines of the cockpit may exceed acute exposure thresholds described as potentially lethal. Meaning, if they did not get their oxygen masks on, after 39 seconds,
They would have passed out.
They would have passed out and potentially be dead. Now,
I just want to Google something. Isn't formaldehyde that stuff that
yeah,
they
when
would knock someone out with, the handkerchief?
Yeah, but
Like in the movies?
I thought they use it for dead bodies and that.
Oh, it could be. Fuck, I don't
But
know.
anyway, so the whole thing, the whole video that he made is, as I say, it's excellent, and it sort of paints quite a bleak sort of picture. Now, what he's saying is there's not enough sort of information about this out there. Obviously, things came out. Boeing recommended a new procedure for takeoff. You had to have your pack 1 off, your pack 2 on. If your pack 2 wasn't working, you had to have your APU bleed on. If your APU and your pack 2 wasn't working, it was a no-go item. So there were little things like that came out. But he then paints another story, and you can relate to this one because it's similar to that little exercise out of Innsbruck you do in the simulator. He said, what happens if you take a crew and they're flying, I think he mentioned Salzburg, and he said, because it's one of these complex airports, the captain's going to decide to be the pilot flying.
Yeah.
And it's at a particular time of year where you got these geese migrating, and at V1 rolling down the runway, they whack one of these geese, goes into the right engine. All right, the load reduction device kicks in, thick acrid smoke comes into the flight deck. All right, what do we teach everyone? What do you learn? You aviate, navigate, communicate. Well, the captain at that stage, at 200 feet above the ground in Austria there with mountains either side, he's probably going to be concentrating on flying accurately. Remember that departure where you've got to turn to the right and then immediately turn left, 180 degrees left to come back.
Yeah.
He's saying what happens there at 200 feet, you've got this situation. The first officer's probably, this is a hypothetical, okay? First officer's probably going to take his oxygen mask, put the mask on. The captain's probably going to carry on flying because he's got these mountains here. It might be thinking, okay, let me just, I'll put my mask on now. All right? But 39 seconds, okay, which is not a lot of time, he could be slumped over the controls. Now, the problem is the smoke is so thick that the first officer, he can't see his instruments.
Yeah.
And the head-up display
on the captain's
is
side.
on the captain's side. So what's going to happen?
Yeah.
So he a mentor pilot went and made this video, and I think it's absolutely fantastic because it gives you a good sense of, first of all, it's quite nice to, I don't know the 737 particularly well, and you understand the systems a bit better. But it's also quite a nice example of a sort of a training exercise that you could potentially do it in a simulator scenario. But it's incredibly dangerous where something like this exists, and the pilot population around the world. Now, bearing in mind, this system is not just on the MAX. I think it's
on anything that's fitted with a LEAP engine, eh?
Yeah, the 320, I think the 320 Neos have 787. Apparently, it's not as big of a deal on the 787, something to do with the PAC system. But anyway, go watch that video. I think it's a really, really good video. It's a bit of an eye-opener. And hopefully, and I'm sure, I think the mentor pilot might reach a few more viewers than you and I on the pod.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But nonetheless, at least we've done our part for maybe getting the word out on that a little bit. But a really, really good video, and I hope that summary made sense. Quite hard to summarize a 45-minute video like that, but that's basically the gist of it. So I don't know what you think about that whole...
No, I like it. It's cool that there's... and actually, there is a platform to get information like this out there, rather than having to learn the hard way.
Yeah, and I think... what you're saying there as well, maybe like what's going on in the world at the moment, and we spoke about tongue-in-cheek the NOTAM situation, but maybe there's just a little bit more of the attitude of, you know what, I am gonna bloody say this thing, and I'm not gonna be too scared because maybe I piss off this person or that person, or maybe I lose my job. Maybe there's a little bit more sense of hey, there's a possible issue here, and you can save some lives and make people aware of it. If you 173 pilot sees that and didn't know about it, then maybe we've done our job type of vibe,
Exactly. And it's not like that info is coming from someone who doesn't know the airplane as well, because
he knows that aircraft.
He's a very highly qualified sim instructor on that thing, and he knows that area quite well. So good source of info.
Very good source of info. Drickus!
What a fight.
Yes.
What a fight. Well, I mean, we did comment about it the other day. Sean Strickland walked in there and, he didn't have as much energy as he normally does to begin with. So I thought you basically did just walk him over a bit.
He had quite a poor camp. He's come out now and said didn't have the best camp. He's probably going to change his coach. But nonetheless, Drickus just dominated, and he's now up there with some of the best, certainly some of the best middleweights of all time. He's making a real name for himself. He's one of the big money earners in the UFC, and someone that us South Africans can be really, really proud of, because he's an absolute beast. He represents the country superbly. He speaks well. He's well liked. They're all commenting on his sort of dry sense of humor. He's got a real typical South African sense of humor there. And the rest of the world really seems to sort of love to hate him. But he's making a real name for himself.
Some I get that's the sort of sentiment of the world about South Africans in general. But I mean, he does represent really well, because he walks into the ring, gives Strickland a proper snort clap, excuse the pun. Then he goes out having a bit of a jaw, and have you seen how Drickus drinks a beer?
Yeah.
So he's chugging beers in like microseconds, so showing guys how it's done properly.
Yeah.
And like you say, just really doing us proud as an ambassador.
Yeah, a real good sporting ambassador. Yeah, behind the himself and the Springboks. Yeah, definitely are very two strong ambassadors we have in the country.
Yeah.
But plans for the weekend?
Going to be working.
So,
yeah, nothing exciting. And I don't think there's much sport. There's no sport this weekend. There's a bit of local rugby.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Valentine's Day with the missus tonight.
Yeah. You know most of the story. 2 young kids around.
Not going to happen.
Nah.
Well, you're not going to get into any restaurants anyway. So
No.
you got an excuse why you don't have to go out.
Yeah, I've been awake since very early, so I can see one of these early evening vibes pulling in anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, just a reminder to everyone, please do not subscribe to our Patreon. It's an absolute ripoff. Not worth it. And you'll literally be throwing your money down the drain. Have an awesome weekend, everyone. From myself and Ryan, goodbye for now.
Take it easy. Cheers.